Stop with all the leads. You don't need hundreds or thousands of leads to be successful in real estate. Hi, I'm Christina Kokologiannakis. I'm a top producing real estate agent, international speaker, and trainer, as well as the creator of Agent Brand Academy, a digital course teaching real estate agents how to create the unique brand and increase their lead conversion. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. We're going to talk about leads and how to get away from muddy leads and to decrease the amount of leads that you're actually working with. This is something that is alarming to me, and I'm seeing it more and more on social media. I'm hearing about it from agents I've coached. I have coached over 1,000 agents. I hear so much. And by the way, I coach agents around the world. So I hear all sorts of different stuff. And real estate is really real estate around the world. The same problems happen everywhere, by the way. One of the biggest things is we need more leads. I'm not getting enough sales and I need more leads. Okay, that could be possible. It could be that, yes, maybe you're just not talking to enough people to really get a sale. But what I'm hearing more and more on social media is, hey, you need hundreds of leads. Hey, get more leads. We'll give you more leads and you'll have more success. But when I speak directly to these agents who are like, I went out and got all these leads, I ask them, how was your success? Did you actually sell the homes and the volume or the dollar amount that you really wanted to do? And their response is shocking. No. They tell me no. They tell me they're burnt out, they're tired, they'll work with the lead, and then all of a sudden the lead ghosts them and disappears. And they're thinking to themselves, I just spent all this time on a lead that just disappeared on me. So what I want to talk about today is really leads, lead conversion, and what is a muddy lead. So let's start with a muddy lead. I love this one. Okay. What is a muddy lead? You're like, okay, that's weird. Well, a muddy lead is a lead that comes to you and maybe you're paying for it. Most of the time you're going to pay for it from other companies, from Zillow, from realtor.com, from all these different places. And why do I call it a muddy lead? I call it a muddy lead because they've talked to so many different agents already that when they come to you, if you've ever had this experience, I have in the past when I used to work with these kind of lead sources, they don't even know where they called or where they put their information and who you are. They have no clue. And what happens is when you work with muddy leads, they don't have commitment with you. They don't trust you. They just see you as somebody they hope can help them buy or sell. But at the end of the day, if somebody else comes in their world and they think that's better, they'll leave you very quickly. And so I caution a lot of real estate agents about working muddy leads and making sure that they are really looking for leads that are right for them versus just having mass amounts of leads. Now, think about your time. In real estate, we don't get paid per the hour, right? We get paid at the end of the transaction when everything closes. So if you're working with a lead who doesn't trust you, who's not committed to you, who's muddy, who's talking to a ton of different agents, and you put all your time, if they're not moving forward with you and closing a deal with you, you don't get paid for your time. So I always tell real estate agents, you have to be aware of that. And it's important to understand, is it a muddy lead? Now, I'm going to tell you something that might be surprising after I said all of that. Muddy leads can convert. Muddy leads can still become a great client for you and can still close a transaction. I have done it. Okay. So it can happen, but you can't look at these leads and just say, oh, they're going to close a deal with me and I'm going to move forward. I'm good. I'm counting it as a deal because they're not committed. Now, if you have a brand and you're showing them who you are and that you're the expert, how you're going to guide them through the transaction, how you're going to give information step by step, how you're knowledgeable and your success rate. Even if you're brand new, you can still show them so much stuff. Then you convert them. They sign an agreement and they move forward with you. And that's awesome when that happens. So we want to be cautious of the muddy leads. If you are like, hey, I'm totally down with like working on these leads to try to convert them, go ahead, but be cautious because if you're spending all your time with the muddy leads and you forget the ones that are actually committed and want to work with you, which I see happen a lot, you lose them too. And what happens is 3 months go by and you're still like, I haven't made a sale. What's going on? I have all these leads and I have nobody actually closing a transaction with me. So what's really important, every thought, every step needs to be, I need a sale. At the end of the day, we are real estate agents. And I hear this from real estate agents all the time. I don't want to sound salesy. I don't want to have commission breath. I don't want to feel like I'm making them do something. And you shouldn't have to. You should never force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. I do not agree with people who say, oh, they should work with me. It's like, it should be an agreement. But at the end of the day, you are making sales, because if you don't sell a home, you don't make any money. So when I'm coaching real estate agents, one of the biggest things I tell them is this. In the back of your mind, you need to think to yourself, I need to make a sale. If I'm going to look at, let's say I have 100 leads, and I'm going to look at these 100 leads, I need, at personal level, to create a list of my criteria that I want those leads to fit into that will make me spend more time with them. So you have to think yourself, what would be your criteria to narrow or redefine? Think of like a funnel. You're going to drop the leads in your funnel. The criteria is going to go through and say, oh, this lead's good. Nope, not that lead. Oh, this lead's good. And you're going to go through this funneling process with your criteria, and you're going to find the handful of leads that fit that. Those are the ones you want to focus on. The 100 plus, do you get rid of them? Do you throw them away? No. You drop them in a CRM, and you have the CRM touching them, sending good content. A little side note on CRMs. Please, if you're building your brand, which is what I'm all about, do not use templates that are generic when you're building your brand and you have your leads in your CRM. It does not build a brand. Your branding on your CRM should be specific to you. It should feel authentic to you. So they're seeing you, they're hearing you, they're feeling you. So what you're doing is you're branding and building your brand to these leads that may or may not work with you, while you're focused on the ones who are really going to. This is what the difference is. This is what's going to actually take leads and move it to a sale. And this here, when I say this to a lot of agents, it's kind of like a light bulb goes on. They're like, oh, so you don't need to be salesy. You don't need to have commission breath. You don't need to do anything weird to get people to move forward with you. You have to find the right ones, and you focus your time on these ones. So here's an example. I had an agent who reached out to me. She's working with me in my course and some other stuff. And she reached out to me personally, and she's like, I know this is weird. I'm kind of reaching out directly to you, but I wanted to see if you would co-work with me on this buyer. And I was like, sure. I go, well, I don't want to take your money. Can I offer some coaching and some advice first and see if I can help? And then if you really want to go that way, we can too. But I want to teach you first, right? Because I'm all about you learning and figuring out versus me just doing it for somebody. And so she told me, she goes, well, I've never done a luxury home. And I have this buyer that came to me. I met them so she met him at an open house. And then she kind of talked to him a little bit. They went away, they came back. And she's like, they're going to buy a $3.5 million home. I've never sold anything that high. I really want to get with them. And I said, great. Can you share with me the conversations that you had? She was putting all her effort on this one buyer because of the price point. She was like, oh man, if I just sell this one home, I'm going to make like $70,000. I got to do that. Like, this is what I got to focus on. But here was the problem. She was spending all her time focusing on them. And when I started reading through her text and having more conversation, I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm going to burst your bubble, but I need to tell you this. And she's like, what? I go, they're not committed to you. They're not even ready to buy. They are kicking the tires and they're looking around. And you've spent a lot of time with them because you wanted them to buy. You wanted that sale, but they're not going to buy with you right now. And it's not going to be a sale. And then I said, do you have other business? She goes, well, I have these other ones. I go, tell me about those. I go, these 3 are the ones you want to focus on. Like, put your time to that. And she sold 2 of them already. So she was super excited. So don't fall into that trap of, I hope this muddy lead will convert. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. If they're not signing agreements, they're not giving you the cues that they're truly committed and they want to work with you. Touch them a little bit, do a little like texting or a little email here, whatever, drop them in your CRM for that follow-up, call them once a month, whatever it is to give a little touching there, but focus on the ones who are actually going to move forward with you. Once you do that, it's important to make sure the little handful that you have, you're guiding them the right way. Okay, I want to bring this up because this is happening with a lot of agents, especially ones that I've coached. When I'm out in trainings, I hear this a lot. AI is a huge, big thing. Totally get it, right? It helps in so many different ways. However, when you're working with leads and you're trying to build that trust, the rapport, right? You're trying to be that expert. I do not recommend using AI to create text messages to have conversations with leads. Okay. If you want to help it refine you in saying something, let it refine it. You read it, you think about it, put it in your own words and put it on there. Because here's what's happening. When you're working with leads and you're using AI to create text messages or things that you want to say, and you're kind of just copying and pasting it to it, they don't feel a connection. There's no emotion. There's no compassion. And I had one agent who was showing me what she was sending. And I was like, are you using AI? And she's like, how'd you know? And I was like, so I sent her some stuff that I just thought about through the conversation she told me they were having. I told her, you refine it your way. Here's what I would say. Refine it your way and send it and see what happens. And she got 2 new leads to start up and actually start seeing homes and sign agreements with her. So make sure when you're working with leads, so you're funneling them through, you're taking all this effort to funnel them through to find good ones. You don't want to ruin that opportunity of working with those leads because you're using AI to talk to them and there's no emotion, there's no nothing in it. So just be really cautious about that. When you're building your brand has to stay consistent from the beginning to the end. So if you're not using authentic things in between, to be honest, they get very skeptical and they're like, this feels off. It feels weird. If you've ever been somewhere and you're shopping or you're buying like a high ticket item and you feel really good about it, and then all of a sudden they say something weird and you're like, wait a minute, what? And then it gives you this like doubt. It's just a moment of doubt. Even if the person slips up and says something weird and it wasn't even anything to do with it, you're like, I'm buying something really expensive. I don't feel comfortable now. That's what happens with these leads. They feel good, and then all of a sudden something odd comes to them, or you do something odd that's out of character, and then they get that doubt, and they're just like, I don't know if I want to move forward. I don't really know if they're the right person. So we want to really be cautious of that. And as you're going, please understand you don't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. And I think this is why a lot of the AI happens. A lot of agents try to have so many leads because they just feel like that they just need to have everything right and perfect and it's going to work out. Perfect is not important. And it's really, really important to understand that just being consistent, just taking action, trying is what matters more than perfect. I get it. When I first started, I wanted my branding perfect. I wanted my marketing perfect. I wanted every email that I wrote perfect. And we didn't even have AI back then, right? And so I would sit for hours reading one email. And my husband would be like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I don't want to mess up on what I'm saying and have them not work with me anymore. Okay, I get it. I've been there. But here's what I'm going to tell you. When you build your brand and you build that trust and you build all of that, when you find those leads that are not really muddy, that they are the right leads for you, they want to work with you. They're committed to working with you. If you mess up, they don't care, right? You just say, oops, I apologize. I said that, but that wasn't correct, right? Or I realize I misspoke. But they already love you, trust you, and are committed to you, that you don't have to be perfect. And I will tell you, right, as a top producer, I'm 8 years into the business. I have seen so much with what I do. I have coached so many agents, and there are still times where I have a client ask me something, and here's what I do. I say, you know what? That's a great question. I'm not 100% on the answer, and I don't like to speak unless I'm 100%. Let me find out for you, and I'll get back to you. How does that sound? And they're always like, fantastic. Because the last thing I want to do is say something and then have to say, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't right. And you kind of backpedal, and that's never a good thing to do on your brand. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know it all. You just have to take action. You just have to get moving. So figuring out the leads that you have, figuring out the ones you want to work with. There are some tips and tricks that I'm going to tell you right now on how to narrow it down and how to really focus this more. The first thing is mindset. We really want to focus on our mindset. And something I want to encourage you to do, I understand it's all on social media and they're telling you need tons of leads. I want you to start telling yourself, I don't need massive amount of leads. I just need the right leads. That's where it's going to really change it for you. When you start thinking, instead of just saying, I want massive quantity of bad leads, to, I just want the right leads. Because the right leads will move forward with me. The right leads will close with me. The right leads are my people. It changes your life. It will change your business. But you have to start here. You have to change the mindset and understand that you need to switch away from tons of leads to the right leads. Look, if you have ads running and you have other things generating leads, that's fine. By all means, keep them on. But let's get more specific with them. Let's narrow it down so that we're finding the right leads. I love this. I hear it all the time. I say it too. I don't even know who started saying it. But here's my favorite thing. If you talk to many, you're never heard. If you talk to one, you're always heard. So what does that mean? If you're just shouting out information out, and these people walking by are like, let's say you're like first-time home buyers and you're talking to a community of homeowners, they're gonna be like, why is she telling me about first-time home buyers? Like, this is weird. It doesn't make sense. They're not gonna hear you. They're not gonna listen. They're not gonna wanna work with you because you're not speaking their language. But if I came in and I was like, hey, I'm the buying and selling expert, I will ensure that you have a home before you sell, or however you want to go. Plus, I bring in all the resources and the tools to help you manage that so it's low stress. They're going to be like, wait, what did you say? I think I heard that. Like, that's really cool. I want to go learn more because I'm speaking to them about what they need. So it's really important to make sure you understand all of that and that you just keep going. And don't be afraid to be perfect. You just want to make it good and keep going and refine it as you go. And remember, failure is okay. We talk about this so much, but failure is okay because every time you fail, you learn. And I had someone say, you shouldn't call it failure. It sounds bad. But I have tried to say it so many different ways. At the end of the day, it is just understanding what it is that you need to do, understanding that you need to change and perfect it. So we talked about mindset. We talked about understanding what it is and how to really interact with the leads and understanding the leads that you want versus just having the mass amount. Now let's talk about the expectation and setting the right expectation with these leads. So you have the mindset, you're ready to go with, hey, I'm going to work with the right leads, not just massive amount of leads. Now, when you start talking to those leads, I don't hear this from a lot of agents. They don't set the expectations up front with these leads. I know they're not clients yet, but you have to explain to them how you work. What is your process? What are you going to do? Do you work weekends? Do you work evenings? What are your time frames? What does the process look like with you? Setting the expectation helps these leads, now that you've narrowed down, narrow it even more if need be, right? You're going to understand now that as you're talking with them, they might be like, oh, well, I really need this. And you're like, oh, I don't really do that. And then you can make the decision, do you want to do that for this lead? Or do you want to say, I don't really do that? Is that a deal breaker? Right? So setting the expectation and having a conversation with them is going to make sure that these muddy leads that you have narrowed down into to the leads that are right, are they still right? So we're narrowing it down a little bit more. And what this does is when you set the right expectation with leads that you want to work with, again, You're building trust, you're building rapport, you're building the expectations, and they know what they're going to get. And you know they're on the same page as you. And this all leads into them signing an agreement. You want to make sure that they're willing to move forward to signing an agreement with you. I remember I was in Greece training real estate agents last summer. And I got this question because they don't sign agreements to work together and they are working with hundreds of leads that never pan out. And so they're just always running leads. They forget to connect with leads. It's a big problem out there. And someone was like, well, I'll have no business if I only work with people who sign an agreement. And I'm like, okay, I see that. But at the end of the day, do you have business now? And they're like, well, I haven't done sales, but I have business. I'm like, don't misunderstand leads to having business, right? If they're not committed to you, you can't count that as business. You don't know if they're going to move forward. And even, by the way, just because they sign an agreement doesn't mean they will buy with you. I had sellers, they're sellers and buyers. I have a listing agreement with them. I have a buyer agreement with them. Something came up in their marriage. They decided to pull back and they were like, we need time to just work on our marriage right now. We'll sell in a little bit. So it doesn't mean just because they signed, they're going to sell with you and you're going to make a sale, but they're more committed to you than somebody over here who won't consider it, who won't even have a conversation around it. So it's really important to make sure that when you're building your brand, when you're thinking about who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world, you need to also look at the leads that you're working and understand that if you want to work a 15-hour week, make the money you want to make, whatever that is, you have to get real about leads. We can't keep thinking that we need more and more and more leads. How about instead we get the right leads? We build our niche and we say, hey, this is who I want to work with. This is who I want to focus. I want to talk to one, not everyone. Then we say, after we do our niche, we say, okay, now I have my niche of what I want to do. I have the right mindset of how I want to go forward. And I'm going to make sure that I give the best service to these leads and that they're committed to moving forward with me. And you take this handful and you narrow it down to a little bit more, and that's okay, because here's the cool thing. You have this handful and maybe you pull out 4 out of 10 that you have. These 4 are ready now. You go and you sell them. And then as soon as you sell 1 or 2, you pull a few more out of this who are already committed, are already ready, pull them out, a few more who are committed, pull out a few more. While all the other leads are sitting in your CRM rotating and getting more built while you're building your trust with them, right? So I want to say, like, they get more of you. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but they get more of you. And so what happens is they're seeing you, they're hearing you, they're watching you. They start getting more comfortable with you. They're starting to trust you more. And so these leads, these mass amount of leads, can get funneled through faster. But you want to really make sure you're focusing on the right leads that fit who you are with alignment. You want to move forward, try stuff, figure it out. Don't worry if it's wrong. You don't have to be perfect. Go with alignment and find joy. When you do all of this, like I said, you can work 15 hours a week. You can make the money you want to make. And then if you have more time in your day, I have 4 little kids. And I like to go to all their shows, all their sports stuff, all their things. I like to take vacation with them. I like to be with them because I'll tell you, they grow up really fast. So for me, I like working less hours, still making really good money, but I get to spend more time with my family. I was talking to another agent. She's 25 years old. She's like, I have no kids. I have a boyfriend, but he works all the time. So I like working because I have nothing else to do. So I was telling her, like, you don't have to work 15-hour weeks. If you get this down to a 15-hour week, could you imagine how many more sales you can do working a 30-hour week, a 40-hour week? And she's rocking and rolling it because she has more time on her hand, but she's refined the system so that she's able to make it produce the way it needs to. So it's taking less time to do what she used to do. So now she can do more of it, if that makes sense. So thank you for joining me. I do have a previous video that talks about branding. So if you are not really sure what a brand is, what is a unique brand, why do you need one in real estate, we're going to put a link in this video about the first video that covers all of that, because understanding what a brand is and why you need it is so critical. And it's something that you can start on day one and start building, and it works for you 24/7. So thank you again for joining us. I hope you found some great tips, and I can't wait to see you on the next video.